Hi, welcome to the channel. My name is Lisa. So I am going to be putting in a pond fountain in my old herb garden. All my herbs died, so now I'm going to put in a pond fountain. So this is the area where we are going to be building our pond. As you can see, it needs a lot of work still. Um, I had a lot of herbs out here. I had a couple of sage, some rosemary, oregano, but the only things that really have survived are my mints. So I have peppermint, lemon mint, and over here some spearmint. And these are euthanasia. And I have one yarrow that is still with me. So the plan is to put this planter in this hole. And I have this cute little fairy statue that is a fountain. And I'm going to add some natural elements around it. And I think it's going to end up being really pretty. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on this hole and get this planter in here and then clean out the area around it so that I can lay a liner down. Okay, so I wanted my planter to be flush with the ground, and it is, so that's perfect. It has rained here the last couple of days. I did start this a few days ago, and then it rained, so everything's a little bit muddy. But I need to get it done because this coming up week we're going to start working on our garden, and I'm just not going to have time. So what I did was I covered it with a black tarp to keep any fresh rain from getting on in the dirt, and to kind of help it dry out a little bit. Now it's very early in the morning right now, but as the sun moves across the sky, it will help dry some of this out because this dirt is pretty much sand. Not 100% sand, but it's got quite a bit of sand in it. So it will dry out pretty fast. So now that I got my hole the size that I want it, I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning up some of the leaves and the weeds and stuff that are in here. And then I'm going to get my liner and all of that. And so because it's so snug, I don't really have to backfill it a lot, which is good because I got a big hole there that I want to fill. So yeah, that's what I'm going to get into right now. I think this is gonna be a really fun project. I like to sit out on the deck in the morning and have my coffee. It's very pleasant out here. It's very quiet. You hear just birds and just nature sounds, and the sun doesn't shine on my back deck till later in the day. So it's very nice to sit out here in the morning and start your day with some coffee and just bird songs. And so I thought, since I didn't really want to get herbs again. And I thought a water feature would be really nice out here, and just turn it on in the mornings and just hear a little fountain with the birds. And I just thought it'd be really nice, really calming, a really great way to just start your day. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get some of this cleaned up, and then I'm going to find my waterproof tape up the drain scared me, tape up the drain holes, and then put my liner over it, and then we can start making it pretty. So I'm going to start with pulling out my mints and my yarrow that I want to save. I'm going to reuse them later, and there are plenty of them. So they will definitely bring some nice variety along with everything else that I'm going to be planting in here. I'm starting with the peppermint, and then I'm going to move to the lemon mint. And of course, Mr. Milo wants to know what I'm doing. Why is it I'm allowed to dig in the yard and he's not? I offered him some of the lemon mint. I don't think he liked it. Got the yarrow out, and then my spearmint. And it is in a half bucket. My bigger mints I would plant in like a half bucket with an empty bottom, because it helps them from like taking over and going wild, and it just kind of keeps them a little bit more contained. And once all that's done, I'm just going to go ahead and start raking, and I'm going to fill in that little hole, and I'm going to shovel just some of the weeds and kind of just get the roots out, and just really anything else that I don't really want in that soil. A lot of morning glories are in there still, and so I try to get as many of those out as I can because they just go wild. And then also the older mulch, not all of it of course, but some of it. And Bunny and Milo, they want to help. They either want to help or they just want to dig. I'm not sure which it is. So once I get all of these weeds pulled out, I am going to go ahead and lay out my landscaping cloth. I just want to cut it around the euthanasia to make sure that it fits cleanly around each plant, less likely for that many weeds to come up, and I want to make sure that it's all measured, and I just want to get that done and out of the way. Now I didn't put it around the pond yet. I'm gonna do that last. I'm gonna wait till I get my liner in so then I can fit it up against the liner really well. Because I'm also gonna be planting some flowers around that pond, around the pond. Milo didn't like that either. And of course, there's Miss Mittens basking in the sun while everybody else is working their bum off. But she is the best mouser this side of the mommy, so it's fine. She could take a break. Okay, so now that I got all of the weeds cleaned out, or at least as much as I'm going to clean out, I am going to go ahead and clean some of this mess up a little bit so it doesn't blow back over here. I also got, I don't know what you call it, weed barrier, landscaping cloth, whatever. And this was just left over from my my greenhouse build, so luckily I had it. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this cleaned up, and then I'm gonna clean that out and put the waterproof tape in it, and then the liner. Yeah, and then I have to also go down to the woods and grab some logs. I want to grab a couple of logs for my little fairy to sit on, and then we'll be, rocking and rolling. For the liner, I'm just using a construction garbage bag. It was way, way, way cheaper than getting like a pond liner. And I wasn't even going to use that much of it, so it just wasn't worth it. And honestly, I think it's thick enough for what I need. I just really just need it to last through the summer, and I can replace it next year. So I'm just going to cut it open. I cut off the end and then cut it down one of the sides. And I'm just going to fit it into the pond as best as I can. And I want to make sure that it's nice and tight. I'm going to tuck it in around the lip of the pond, and I want to make sure that it's nice and tight so when I add rocks and water, it doesn't pull it loose. And I'm going to lay the last little bit of the fabric landscape stuff and fit it around this last euthanasia, and then I'm going to tuck it in around the pond. And hopefully it'll keep most of the weeds from growing. That's the hope. Mulch alone didn't do it, so I'm hoping this fabric liner will. And luckily that tube had just enough. I ran out with this very last piece. So that was really lucky. I'm just going to tuck it in really tight. That way it doesn't blow away or, you know. And I have to cut it in a little bit anyway to plant some flowers. Okay, so I got the liner in the pond and I got all of the landscaping fabric down. Vincent is home now, so he's going to start cleaning off the little pump and the little fairy that is the fountain. And I'm going to go ahead and start planting some of the flowers I got around the pond. So what I'm going to be planting is dahlias and petunias and some little alyssum. They're kind of small right now, and they don't really look like a whole lot, but they're gonna grow and they're gonna fill in and they're gonna look gorgeous as the season goes on. These are some of my favorite flowers. And while I'm doing that, Vincent's laying out the rest of the landscape cloth, like getting it put in place, and we're just getting ready to lay some mulch down. Once I get done with all these flowers, he is going to clean the liner. Unfortunately, I guess I didn't do it right, and he had to pull it out a little bit and readjust it. I guess it wasn't on the bottom enough, and he was really worried that pouring in the rocks and the water that it would pull it loose or tear. So he pulled it out just a little bit and readjusted it and put everything back together. So that's good. It was a simple fix. I'm glad he caught it before there'd been a big mess. So I'm just going to get this mulch laid out. I don't know what's the right way to do it. I lay my mulch and then plant my flowers. I think some people like plant their flowers first and then put mulch around it. I don't know. This is just the way I've always done it. It works. So while I'm getting that mulch spread out, you'll see Vincent over by the pond, and he's just kind of tucking all of the landscape cloth around the little flowers. And we're just going to make sure that it's, you know, all the way up to the deck. And that it's nice and smooth and even. Asher likes the feel of that warm wood, I think. So yeah, you're gonna see him right now. He's gonna clean the liner off because, you know, some dust and stuff fell in there, and then he's gonna kind of readjust it. It took him a few minutes, so I only just put a little clip of it in this actual video, but it was a really easy fix for him to do because there was a lot of extra or excess that was actually tucked, you know, up under the lip, so that was really good. And now he's gonna clean the rocks, and this is river pebbles. The bag said like river rock pebbles. It's bigger than pea gravel, but they're not huge. They're really pretty. They're colorful. River rocks are my favorite. I really like them a lot, and I think they're gonna add a lot of color to the bottom of the pond. I kept telling him I had a strainer, and he's like, no, this is fine. I can get them clean just like this. So I just let him do it. And so now we're going to start adding the rocks to the pond. And we're going to put in the pump and then set the fairy up. And then he's going to fill it with water. It's very exciting. I think this feature is going to be so nice on, you know, warm summer mornings. I'm just sitting outside just to turn it on and just to hear that little bit of water splashing. I think it's just going to be really, really nice. He was going to try and fit the hose in place. I told him, don't worry about it. Let's just get the pump going, and we'll just work on fitting it in place when everything is put together and we're not going to move it around anymore. It only took a few minutes to fill it up. He kept asking me, how high do you want it? I said, to the top. He said, all the way to the top? I said, to the top. Fill it to the top. So he did. And then wouldn't you know it, we turned on the pump, and the valve, the water valve control didn't work. So we had to take it apart and add a new valve to it. But luckily he's a handy guy like that, and we had an extra valve just laying around. So now we're just going to kind of start cleaning up a little bit and getting all these weeds up and add in the final touches of the mulch, you know, just to make sure everything's filled in and it looks really, really pretty and full. And
so no weeds can really grow in. Oh, and I wanted to tell you guys, my camera died and my mic died. That's why I'm doing a voiceover. Um, I did end up planting some daylilies that I had that were growing in a really weird place next to to one of my fences. I added those. I put some bark over the tubing to kind of help hide the tubes. And I also got my mints transplanted and my yarrow transplanted. Real sorry about that. Sometimes that just happens. I also got my fence put into place. And so what we just did was we replaced a couple of bricks. I had a couple go missing. I'm not sure where they went. And we filled that corner in with some river rocks. And then I'm just going to water my plants because of shock. Everything looks really droopy right now because, they're just planted and transplanted, so they're kind of in shock. And then we ran to Walmart and we got some charcoal for a little filter that goes into the pump. And oh yeah, and I also planted these little clumps of grass. Like I've never gotten grass before, as like something to put in in your flower bed, but I did, and they absolutely love sun, so I think they're gonna grow in and fill in real nice and look really really pretty. Um, we filled it back up, and we added a splash of chlorine because mosquitoes. Turned it on. I added my lily pad, and we turned it on. What do you think? Well, that's it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And I always appreciate your time. I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.